In this video I want to address something that is often brought up as argument for why it's important to follow the quote-unquote meta in Arknights, namely that your resources are limited, so you can't afford to spend them on operators that aren't strong enough to justify it. I'm not going to argue to what extent you should care about what operators are stronger than others, we'll just take it as a given that you do. I'm talking about the opportunity cost of raising operators. There are three aspects to this opportunity cost. The first is the material cost of leveling the operator, the second is the rate at which you can obtain resources to pay that cost, and the third is the need to build a roster that can reliably clear the stages that give you those resources. For the first point, most people will have realized at some point that leveling a 6-star operator all the way to Elite 2 level 90 is expensive, but I think a lot of people may not be fully aware of how that cost is distributed. Raising a 6-star operator from Elite 0 level 1 to Elite 2 level 60 costs 588,286 EXP and 551,409 LMD, plus 210,000 LMD for the promotions. Raising a 6-star operator from Elite 2 level 60 to Elite 2 level 90 costs 523,114 EXP and 573,387 LMD. The same ratios apply to lower rarities. Those last 30 levels cost roughly the same as all the levels before that combined. You are burning money for marginal damage increases. You can simply not do that. A level 60 Wangsadel with module and masteries deals a total of 98,293 damage with S3 against a 0 defense target. At level 90 that becomes 102,556 damage, a gain of 4,263 damage or about 4.3%. It's marginal, but it's not nothing. It becomes very noticeable if Wangsadel is your only DPS, because she'll be killing things she couldn't quite handle before. Going all the way to level 90 can be worthwhile if you use that operator a lot. Quiz time. Which of these deals more total damage? A level 90 Wangsadel, or a level 60 Wangsadel and the Elite 2 level 1 Lemuan you can build for the same money plus letting your base do its thing for a few days while you wait for the sniper chip stage? Level 90 is a scam, stop falling for it. Again, I do actually think it can be worth it if you use that operator all the time, or if you do the kind of challenge runs that require you to squeeze as much as possible out of a small handful of units. But I know most of you aren't doing that. If you're concerned about being able to raise all the cool new operators you want, if you feel like you're struggling to develop a roster that actually covers all your needs, then first make sure you're not needlessly paying double for your operators. Speaking of letting your base do its thing, part of the perceived pressure to choose your promotion targets carefully comes from the rate at which you gain the stuff needed to promote them in the first place. I personally have 263 Elite 2 operators as of posting this video, with only very few of them higher than module level. Now, I've been playing since March 2020 and I love promoting random nobody 5 stars, so to put that into perspective for people who care about building only the strongest stuff, I've added up all the EXP and LMD I've spent on those promotions and modules to see how that translates to only promoting 6 stars. With the EXP I've spent on my operators over the past 6 years, I could have built a total of 108 level 96-star operators, or 204 level 66-star operators. The LMD spent would translate to 101 level 96-star operators with module level 3, or 156 of them if they were level 60. If we divide that over the 6 years and 4 months since I started, the difference between level 90 and level 60 is a difference between building 16 6-star operators per year or building 24 of them. Counting from you and Blaze last year to Wang and Chen right now, Arknights released 19 new 6-star operators over the past year. With the rate at which I gain my resources, I could easily keep up with the release schedule and build every new 6-star to level 60 with module, but I'd be floundering if I tried to raise them all to 90. In fact, there are only 125 6-star operators in the global game right now, so it's literally the difference between being able to promote them all or not. And if I did stick to module level for most, I'd still have resources to spare for level 90 on a few favorites, or a couple 5 stars if that's more your speed. What about elite materials? Promotion and mastery costs are somewhat irregular and hard to translate between rarities, so you'll have to forgive me for not counting each individual elite material I've spent on my 263 operators. If we use the E2 chip spent as a stand-in for all promotion materials, I could have promoted 211 6-star operators with those, or 33 per year. For masteries, the blue books I've spent add up to 181 M3 skills for 6-star operators, or 28 per year. So M3 on every new operator with room for an M6 or even M9 here and there. I've never bought resource or training packs. I run a suboptimal base because I simply cannot be bothered to change it, and according to my in-game stats I've missed about 160 login days over the years, so it's not like I'm squeezing everything out of the game in order to achieve this. But in all fairness, I did have the monthly card active for a lot of that time, and while that extra sanity pot doesn't affect how fast my base works, it does affect elite material gains. Without direct data on elite materials, we'll just use the LMD cost as stand-in, since it's the most limiting factor so far. The monthly card gives around 21% extra sanity per week, so if we adjust these numbers to be 21% lower, I still would have been able to get all new releases to module level. And realistically, even if you're always chasing the latest meta, you're unlikely to actually obtain every new release unless you're spending big, and if you're spending big you're also just buying the premium resource packs instead of complaining about how limited your resources are. A base 21% worse than my already suboptimal one will net you enough EXP and LMD to promote basically everything you roll if you just stop at module level. If you get on an optimized base layout you'll be able to build even more random bullshit than me. Now, that of course only starts applying once that base is actually built. The acquisition rate is going to be much slower while you're still developing your base, so if you're a newer player it probably feels like the opportunity cost of a new operator is much higher, and you'll want to focus on building operators you'll actually use. Out of my 263 Elite 2 operators, only about 100 of them I can honestly say have seen any regular use over the years. The amount of operators I default to in current year when I'm not actively trying to use something different is about 40 tops, spread pretty evenly between 6-star and 5-star and with a lot of them overlapping in functionality, so I could easily get by with less. That's a 15% promotion efficiency. If you locked in you could develop my go-to all-purpose roster in like a year, give or take a few months to get your base running. A lot of those unused operators I built just because they were strong, but I didn't like using them so they ended up gathering dust. Several of those I even knew I wouldn't like using, I built them just in case and then deployed them maybe once a year. Some of them I built because I thought I would like them but didn't. Some of them I built just out of respect for the character, with no intention of using them in the first place. Some operators I promoted while assuming I wouldn't like using them, just in case, and then I ended up enjoying them after all when I gave them a shot. I've built operators for their base skill, even though everyone always tells you not to do that because the return on investment takes forever, and in some cases I then didn't even use the base skill. A bunch of them were built purely as a luxury for reclamation algorithm and have never set foot outside Sargon. I didn't count those as having been used because I know none of you are playing reclamation algorithm. I promoted all my 4-star operators just to have something to work on. The game just gives me more than enough resources to mess around like this. But, you know, a lot of my favorites are off-meta and I enjoy trying out whack stuff, so my lineup of all reliables is weaker than a dedicated meta players, and my personal use statistics aren't representative of that population. So let's look at SS123 instead. They're a channel that posts clears of every stage using a couple of the strongest operators in the game. I like their videos because I feel like they really understand what's so satisfying about using busted 6 stars to solve your problems, so I highly recommend checking them out, both if you just enjoy watching clears and if you're the type of meta player who follows guides a lot. They generally use low operator counts, but they don't optimize for those and instead focus on strategies with plenty of leeway for sloppy timing, so I would say they're pretty representative of what it's like to be a meta player and throw hydrogen bombs at coughing babies. I counted their operator use in all clears from the first run of Such Is the Joy of Our Reunion up to and including the rerun, excluding event normal stages or standard environment stages, since they tend to do ling or scene solos on those and I was more interested in data for stages that people would consider difficult enough to warrant a meta team. That's 482 videos, give or take a few because I was doing this late at night. In those videos a total of 90 different operators appeared. However, only half of those appeared more than 3 times, and only 25 of those 90 operators were used more than once a month on average over the past year. Their top 9 most used operators accounted for 50% of the party slots filled, and the top 20 covered 75% of party slots. A lot of operators broadly considered top-tier must-haves fall to the wayside in favor of this core group of top operators they enjoy the most. And these are all being used in teams consisting of an average of 4 or less operators to completely curb-stomp everything from main story to EX stages to trimmed medal in contingency contract. Especially if you go out of your way to pick only the strongest operators to raise first, you genuinely just don't need that many of them before you reach a level of power that can comfortably get you all the event rewards you could want. Once you've built like half a squad of meta operators to module level, you're basically set for life. Everything else you build can be bottom tier and you're still gonna win if you even remotely know what you're doing, because that's the kind of power that top tier operators are packing these days. To put it somewhat harshly, you can reduce opportunity cost by simply becoming better at the game so that you can use the same operator to solve more problems. And maybe once you get better at the game, you'll have a better feel of what kind of operators you like to use, and can make more informed decisions on who to promote next. Opportunity cost in Arknights is just not as much of a problem as it's made out to be. It will feel like you never have enough when you're starting out, but you can stop paying double for your operators. You can build them faster than you can roll them if you do that, and you don't need to build that many in the first place in order to clear everything that would get you the materials to afford this. Your Wangsadel alone has enough map clearing power to let you promote as many niche and underpowered units as your heart desires. Or as many other meta units as your heart desires, if you like using those. Be free. Now, here near the end of the video you may have noticed I conspicuously avoided bringing up module blocks until now. They're the only material that's genuinely heavily time-gated, with the blocks I've spent over the years only adding up to 71 total level 3 modules for those hypothetical 156 6-star operators. Modules were introduced with Docilus Holiday in year 2, so it maps out to about 15 level 3 modules per year for the 20 to 24 operators I could build per year. The hypothetical maximum amount of modules per year currently is slightly higher than that, because I ignored SSS for a long time and it took me a while to realize they sell blocks for yellow certificates, but it's still a significant bottleneck compared to all the other stuff. The relative scarcity of module blocks is honestly quite strange, because as shown, every other relevant resource has a roughly synchronized acquisition rate, and they're not even capitalizing on this scarcity with a monthly module pack instead of just throwing those up whenever they happen to remember. I could tell you that not every operator particularly cares for the talent upgrade or even the trait change, and that an operator without module is still more value than 30 more levels in most cases. The rate at which we get module blocks has been manageable for me personally because I build a lot of 5 stars, and a lot of 5 stars have deeply underwhelming modules, so I can spend those blocks on more important things like Mod 9 Ebenholz. But I have to concede I am slightly lying with the video title, and this particular opportunity cost can sting a little.